Alright, Steve, a quick video to show you some things about BobCAD. This is how I've been doing all the programming thus far for your Plasma. So if you double click on your icon on the desktop, BobCAD version 26, you should come up. I think for the most part we've set your defaults, so you might not have to do some of the things that I'm going to have to show you how to do. So the first thing we want to do is make sure we're in a Plasma setting. Then we can click OK. So you'll see these tabs down here. The one you're most concerned about is this cam tab. So anytime this looks grayed out, just make sure you're in the cam tree. If something goes wrong and all you have is cam defaults up here, you can always just right click and do a new job, and then you pick Plasma again and say OK. Now I've got two new jobs, no big deal. I'm just going to go right click and delete one of the jobs. I'm back to where I was. So I'm in Plasma, and I need to change the post. In other words, how is the code going to get created for a specific machine. So for you, it should automatically pop up, but if it doesn't, you can right click, edit, go to select, and navigate to the Stokes welding post. Select OK, and OK again, and you'll see it update to the Stokes welding post. So this cam tree is basically where we just apply tool paths and stock stuff like that to what we're doing. Yeah, okay, so what I'm going to do is I'll send you a BobCAD file, and I want you to follow this and just do this. And it'll make things a little easier. So you'll go to open, and I'll send you this square bracket 11 for instance. And you'll you'll left click on it and say OK and open that. Again, see this is grayed out. We can go to the cam. Here are all the tool paths that are applied to this part. So what I want you to do is on one of these features, it doesn't matter which one, just right click and go save feature, and just call it a Plasma feature. Don't have to put the .bcom, it'll do that itself. Just type in Plasma feature. So what that does is it just streamlines the process a little bit. From now on, when you want to add a tool path, you'll just follow a different process than you would otherwise, but I mean, it kind of makes it a little more simple for you. So you would click save. I don't need to because it's already where I want it to be. So I'm done with that. So once that's in there, now let me just go ahead and delete that tool path. And I'll delete that tool path. So now really I have no tool paths underneath here. Once I have geometry, you'll need to go to your machine setup and edit, and then the first thing you'll do is you'll want to pick where you want your origin to be, and you'll see all these little blue nodes. That's where you can auto pick some things. Normally I just leave stuff in center, it's easy to do, but if you want to change it, you can go to origin and you can just go and pick whatever these highlighted nodes are and change that origin. So let's say if I wanted to be there instead, I could click there, click OK, and now when I'm clicked on the machine setup, you can see I get this big CPL coordinate plane where red's positive X, green's positive Y, blue's positive Z. This is just, you consider this to be the machine CPL, not necessarily the part datum. So now basically I have everything I need in order to add tool paths. One thing I kind of glossed over there was milling stock. If I didn't have stock, when I right click on this and go to edit, it'll ask me to create stock. And so let's just milling stock. I'll do that in the next one. You'll see what I'm talking about. But for now, I'll just right click on this machine setup, and now I want to add a tool path. So that feature we just saved off, we're going to load it. So what I did was I right click on machine setup, go load feature, pick the Plasma feature that I want to load. So as we get into more of this, you'll see how you can create your own different features, like for different kerfs, for different plunge or pierce times, different feed rates for your different materials. And then, so let's say this was for 3/8 stainless. I could have just named this 3/8 stainless. And now when I pick this feature, it'll already have those inputs for 3/8 stainless instead of having going back and change it all the time. So you might have, 20 different features in here. Essentially the difference between them being, the feed rates and pierce times. So I'll just click open. I don't know, I didn't. So load feature, click that, open, and you'll see it comes up right here. So all I need to do is I'll right click on here and I will reselect the geometry I want to cut. So if that's the geometry, I can just hold the shift key down and left click. It'll pick all the chained entities, and then I'll right click and select OK. And now one more thing I need to do is I can right click and compute the toolpath, and you'll see now it adds a toolpath to it. It's a little hard to see right now, which side of the line it's offsetting to. So let me go to view and top, and now I see, yep, sure enough, it's offset to the side I want it to be because I'm cutting the inside out. So that's where that kerf is at. A little bit more to this. If I want to go back and I want to change some settings within this toolpath, I can just go to edit and this will pop up. And don't worry about anything on this page, doesn't really have anything to do with plasma. I can click next, and the only thing I really want is profile rough, so I'll click next and next again. And this is now, if you had a different kerf width you wanted to put in here, that's where you would put it. If you wanted to give some sort of label, you could do that there, leave that alone. Here's your XY feed rate, here's how long it's going to dwell when it pierces. And if you want to slow down in the corners, you can do so here. But those are really the only settings you need to worry about. Because this, and this define, how the cut width and how fast it's going to go. I've never really used arc slowdown, but maybe you'd find a reason for it if you want to. This is just percentage of feed rate. So if I put 50 here, when it got to a corner, it would slow the feed rate down to 25 inches per minute. So I could click next, and here, don't really need to mess with this at all either, to be honest, because we can change it later. So essentially we can just click next all the way through and compute. And there's our toolpath, as you can see. Now again, let's say we wanted it to cut on the outside of our geometry for whatever reason. So all we'd have to do is go over here to chain start point and reverse the direction, and then go and compute that toolpath. And you can see now, if I go back to my view and top, now my toolpath is to the opposite side of that line. So it's easy enough to change. Let's do that one more time. Oh, by the way, the lead in is just a straight lead in while using this cycle, this feature that we created. So if I come here and edit this, because I don't like that feed in, or that lead in line, I can go to lead in tab, which here's my lead tab. Here's a right angle, so here's the length of the lead. Pretty much always going to use a right angle lead, but let's say I want to make it bigger, 1 inch, and here's the lead out. Normally you leave it the same as lead in, but if you want it to be different, you could uncheck that and put a different distance in here, and your lead out and lead in would be different. So if I compute that now, you'll see that my lead in length changed. So yeah, I mean, that was a real brief introduction to how to do this. Let me do one more. Also, if I wanted, you can rename this once it's in here, so you'll understand how to do this. So if I come here and go to rename, I could call this 4-inch square or whatever I wanted, and then I'd have an idea what it was, because maybe perhaps I didn't create them in the right way. So let me go ahead and load another feature here. So I'll go right here, load feature, plasma feature, and I'm going to reselect geometry. Now it's going to be this outside geometry. Remember, shift and click, Click OK. There it is. And if all the inputs within the cycle were correct, I could just compute it, and there you go. You can see here's my lead. It's going to go from there to there, work its way around. Boom. So if I didn't like that again, I could go here and reverse the direction, but I always have to make sure that I compute the toolpath after making a change, and now you can see it's offset in the right way. So it's not a big a deal if it doesn't turn out correct the first time. Just go ahead and change it. Again, I'll come here and reverse the direction of that one, and then right click and compute that toolpath. You can see it changes it to the inside, and now the kerf will be out to the inside of that square. So this is just to get you started. I'm going to email you that file. Remember, once I send you this file, just right click on one of these and then save the feature, name it, you could name it just generic plasma feature for now, and say okay. So in the same way, let's say that I made this I changed this for a different material. So this one had a different feed rate of, let's say, 45 inches per minute with a 3/4 second dwell time, and maybe a different lead in. So we'll put this at half because this is what works well on that material. I don't know. And I'll click here, go to compute, and then I will right click once that's done and save this feature, and now I can name this whatever 3/8 stainless, and save that. Okay, well, it's not gonna let me put that format. It doesn't like that, so 3/8 stainless. So now when I want to load that exact feature for 3/8 stainless, if I come up to here and load the feature, there you go. I can just load a generic feature, go ahead and select the geometry that I want to apply it to. Let's say it was just that line instead all the way around. Right click, OK, and then compute the toolpath, and you can see there you go, I'm getting a lead in. Oh, it's the wrong way, so I'll go over here, reverse the direction, and compute the toolpath, and it'll change how it does it. Alright, so that'll conclude this video. I will give you another one about doing some of the drawing shortly.